Shalom, and thank you for watching this video from HaDerekh Synagogue. I hope you are liking the content we are bringing you. If you could like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that will greatly help us. And to further help bring great content to you from our teachers, if you could please consider to donate to HaDerekh Synagogue. The link is in the description box below. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so this is the first of 5 Torah portions dealing with the Mishkan. And there's only 5 Torah portions left in Shemos. So that's Terumah, Tetzaveh, Kesisa, Vayachel, and Peduke. Okay. Now, out of all those, of course, like right in the middle is kind of an unfortunate event, but I'm actually looking forward to that Torah portion. So thankfully, we will be here for that week. Yeah. But in this portion, we discover that holiness is something that can be created through our actions and through our well-considered words. We learn this while working together in a multitude of fashions to build the Mishkan, the Tabernacle. Because the area that we are building is going to be Kadosh, it is here that God will be accessible. He promised that. And often the item that's considered the most holy is the Aron HaKodesh, which is the Ark. And the Aron has actually a functional purpose, not just look pretty, but it actually holds the lukos, the broken tablets. And on top of the Aron, we are to fashion the Keruvim. Now, the Keruvim, which are the cherubs, angels, cherubs. Sorry, it took a second. They will be staring at each other, one on each side. But what's interesting is the Keruvim show up one other time, and that is at the Garden of Eden. And they're the ones who keep us away from the tree of life. So, one of the questions that I had was like, well, if there's a Keruvim there, how many were there? But what's nice is when you see something plural, you automatically assume 2. So how many Keruvim were there at Gan Eden? 2. How many Keruvim are sitting on top of the Aron? 2. So it's easy. And these guys are childlike. And they are male and female, naked, angelic. And what's interesting is we're not supposed to make graven images, but here we are. For the Aron, we're making graven images. So it appears that the Aron is the exception. When we lost the first temple, the pagans came in and ransacked us. And the Talmud says that when they came into the Holy of Holies, they found the Keruvim and accused us of all sorts of horrific deeds. So Reish Lakish, who happens to be one of my favorite rabbis, and you know why? Because actually he was a brigand. He was a criminal before he became a rabbi. So he's got some very interesting stories. So Reish Lakish says, when the heathens entered the Mikdash and saw the Keruvim whose bodies were intertwisted with one another, they carried them out and said, these Israelites whose blessing is a blessing and whose curse is a curse, occupy themselves with such things? And immediately they despised them. The pagans despised Israel. All who honored her despised her because they had seen her nakedness. That comes from Yoma 54b. Everything that is holy became cheapened. Now, the thing that I would like to kind of address here as far as the Keruvim, because there is a kind of a spiritual or almost magical, if you will, put that in quotes, thing that happens with the Keruvim. They say that the Keruvim reacted to one another in a way that reflected our relationship with God. So therefore, one Keruvim represented Hashem, one Keruvim represented us. And when we faced each other, that represented our relationship. When they faced away from each other, that represented our relationship. And when they were embraced, that expressed another. And shortly before the pagans came and destroyed the temple, the Keruvim were looking away from each other. So as they came in to destroy the temple, that's when we really began to pray to God. And that prayer and that kavod was represented in the cherubim embracing each other. So what am I saying? I'm saying that while we built it in one piece of gold, and we fashioned it out of that throughout time, the cherubim would change orientation. They would look at each other, look away, embrace each other when we were close, and that's what was being shown at the time that the pagans came in. So what they accuse us of? Basically child pornography. The Aron Kodesh. Is that the most important thing in our Parsha? Have you guys read the Parsha? Okay, so then you know that what I'll do is I'll list all 9. Okay, there are 9 things that we deal with. One is the Aron Kodesh, where the luchos are stored. We have the kaporos, which is the gold cover of the ark with the images of the cherubim. We have the shulchan, which is the table, and that's where the showbread, the lechem hapanim are there. And why they call it the showbread, I don't know. The menorah, again, made from a single piece of gold. The yeros, which is the curtains covering the tabernacle, and they were woven, and the cherubim motif was put on them as well. The karashim, which are the walls of the tabernacle, and these were boards made of shittim. Kind of hesitate to call it that because I don't want anybody to think I'm swearing up here. But it's also known as acacia or wattles wood. And by the way, do you know that acacia is part of the pea family? Yeah. And then we also have the parochas, which are the partitions, and then we have the copper or the outer altar. So, last one was the Chatzar, which is the courtyard. Now, if you guys went through Tractate Eruvim, you got a whole earful of that for a couple months. But anyway, so out of all those, which do you guys think, or anything else that's detailed in the Parsha, what was the most important thing? The Aron. See, and I talked to Aaron, and he thought Aaron thought the Aron was the most important too. I love that fun. Yeah, there you go. But I think the most important thing was the fundraiser, which of course I didn't mention this because I had to trick you guys up. So the Parsha begins with, and Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, speak to Bnei Israel, so that they can take for me an offering of every man whose heart makes him willing, you shall take my offering. That comes from Shemos 25:1-2. Now, from Shemos 25:2, which again says, accept gifts for me from every person whose heart so moves him, the Mechilta of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai deduced that all the Israelites were so rich from having stripped the Egyptians that they had the wherewithal to actually construct the tent of meetings with all its vessels, golden hooks, boards, wooden bars, columns, and pedestals. And that comes from Parsha 15:8, Pasuk 3. Now, I might add, and we'll see that in 2 weeks from now, we had gold to spare. Yeah, we had gold to spare, yeah. So let me ask you this. What is more superior? Performing a command that we're commanded, or performing from the heart? From the heart. I know most people would say that. But when you give from the heart, you give them for one reason, for the heart. When you have a command to give and you don't feel the yoke of that command, now you're fulfilling two. You're fulfilling the command and you're also fulfilling the heart behind it. So it's kind of like receiving love from your spouse because he or she loves you. That's far more valuable than giving her or him love potion number 9. Would you not agree? And I think that's why creation was not complete until we actually fell and we ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because then that gave us the option to love God because we wanted to, or to obey God because we wanted to, not because we were robots. So, how did Moshe know what to build? Well, God showed him. Build what you have seen. Moshe received specific instructions, or a manual, if you will, with the show and tell. Here it is, now recreate. Like a recipe book, it has pictures and then instructions. Or is it like being told, here, taste this, now recreate it? I mean, personally, I'd rather have the recipe book. But Moshe couldn't build it. Now, Moshe had one of the most, well, probably for his time, he had the greatest rational intellect for his time. So, as if Moshe was saying, how can I build what I have seen? What Moshe saw was more than his mind could truly process. How can a three-dimensional being process a multi-dimensional environment not limited by time? Now, Moshe is not the only prophet to have seen heaven. There are several others. There was Yeshayahu in Parak 6, Isaiah. There's Yehezkel, Parak 1 and Parak 10. Daniel in Parak 7. We have Yochanan in Revelation chapter 4. We also have a guy named Micaiah in 1 Malachim, chapter 22, which is the First Kings. All these prophets experienced sheer awe, and to the best of their ability, they wrote what they could comprehend and left for us the task to recreating the vision, which I don't know about you, but I can't do it either. The analytical mind of Moshe is perfect for hearing, writing, processing things of law, logic, and intellect. The analyst in his head was unable to take these visions and turn them into exact replicas, because frankly, it's impossible. But it took Bezalel to recreate it. And he did so with splendid creativity. Where Moshe saw angels, Bezalel mimicked with standing wood. Where Moshe saw stars in heaven, Bezalel recreated with golden hooks. According to the Midrash, Moshe saw red fire, green fire, black fire, and white fire. And Bezalel created 4 poles. Hashem directed Moshe to build according to its structure, and Bezalel did so, like a modern or an impressionist or a Cubist artist. Picasso, Claude Monet, or Vincent van Gogh, Degas even. This is Bezalel. Moshe was more like a classical artist, Raphael, Jan van Eyck, Rembrandt or Michelangelo, or if I want to be like, mention all the turtles, we can put Donatello in there. This is Moshe, a realist. Now, Moshe saw the throne as a vertical structure. All the prophets did, this on top of this and on top of this. So how does Bezalel do this? Does he build a mobile and say, okay, we're going to hang a sky hook and hook all this stuff up together? No, what he did, he took what Moshe saw and he laid it down on the ground, facing east. Again, he used his creativity to try to figure out how to get this done. There was one-to-one correlation in what Moshe saw and what Bezalel built. Individual input through creativity. I mean, when I look at Bezalel, was absolutely phenomenal. I wish I could meet him. Bezalel succeeded because he intuitively substitutes what he can to capture the essence of what Moshe saw. Anyway, good Shabbos.